Hi, everyone. I hope this finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey. Absolutely delighted to have this opportunity to introduce all of you to Krista Nerestant, who, as the owner of selfishlifestyle.com, serves as a certified spiritual medium and teacher to demystify the world of spirit and energy. Krista also works as a neuro-linguistic life coach and hypnotist, specializing in the Satir method of transformational systemic therapy. And she hosts a podcast, or I should say at one time she hosted a podcast dedicated to encouraging, empowering, and elevating the self-care journey, which may be coming back. So we'll look forward to that. Krista, who currently lives with her daughter and husband in Austin, Texas, was born in the Philippines, moved to the United States at the age of 12, and became a successful entrepreneur at 17 years old. Her new memoir, titled Indestructible, The Hidden Gifts of Trauma, tells the story of the tremendous obstacles she faced and overcame to champion for the life she wanted for herself and her family. I'm looking forward to talking with Krista about how she demystifies the world of spirit and energy through her work as a spiritual medium and teacher, her work as a neuro-linguistic life coach and hypnotist, specializing in the Satir method of transformational systemic therapy, and the 4 elements of her self-care journey, and her riveting new memoir titled Indestructible, The Hidden Gifts of Trauma. This is surely going to be an inspiring and very empowering interview with a truly remarkable woman. Hi, Krista. A warm, heartfelt welcome to Grief and Rebirth Podcast.
Hi, Irene. Thank you so much for having me. So grateful and honored to be here.
Thank you. Truly my pleasure. So let's talk about your wonderful childhood. Let's start there. In the Philippines, you were a frightened child under the household of your very abusive alcoholic father. You then moved to the United States at the age of 12, and you became a successful entrepreneur at 17 years old. Wow. Please tell us more about the challenges and successes of your very difficult childhood.
Yeah. So yes, it was a very traumatic and challenging childhood. However, what I found, as you know, again, my book is all about the hidden gifts of trauma, and honestly, due to those challenges and due to those traumas, my need to survive and my need to really gain the perspective to not only survive but to be intact was revealed to me at a young age. And that's when I discovered spirit. That's when I discovered this other part of me, which is that power of spirit, the power of faith, the power of light and love. And a lot of people, but I'm sure here the audience in this podcast would be open and receiving and allowing this acknowledgement, is that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. I knew that as an adult, but it's funny. The things that we know as an adult, we experience as children.
Yeah. So tell us about that. How did you experience that as a child?
And
you even had mediumistic abilities as a child. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So, So when I recognized that I was able to cope and develop these amazing coping mechanisms that enabled me to survive and overcome certain experiences, and not just from a human aspect or a psychological aspect, but from our spiritual aspect. Mm-hmm. And so what do I mean by that? I meant that there was a time where I went through a physical trauma where my father punished me by allowing me to hold hot coals in my hand for a punishment. And I was 6 or 7 at that age. And in the Philippines, we were, it was also like a condition that, you're a child, you're no one, you're just a child. You're not
a
meant
person.
to hold. Yes. So at that time, I literally had an out of body experience. It was interesting because when I say out of body, it's like if you're in the world of spirit, you understand this terminology, which is astral projection.
So did this happen while you were holding those coals?
Yes. I
literally while you were holding the coals and he's punching you, you left your body?
I left my body and watched it from afar. Yeah. And that's how I recognize. That's when I started playing with this idea, even at a young age, that I'm able to transfer and to be where the physical body is here, but then I don't have to hold on to it in an energetic sense.
I just want to ask you, did you find yourself floating above the whole scene and watching yourself?
Yes. And in therapy, that's actually called there's a technique that I use in my work. I totally forgot the technique, but it's actually a real technique that we use in therapy. And working with your past selves and your child selves, right? When it comes to trauma healing and healing anything, we're not only healing the person of the now that's currently in the space, we're healing all the parts of you that went through that trauma. Yeah. So it really was like that. I left my body and I was watching from afar, still connected to my body, but just it enabled me not to hold on and be stuck in that.
And you didn't feel the pain? You didn't feel any pain?
No.
Body?
No. And so it's dissociation. Yeah, it's something that we don't suggest to dissociate, but in the times of needs and in certain experiences, there's a moment that you do dissociate to do that. And at 6 years old, there was no other way for me but that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because I didn't have my prefrontal cortex fully developed to allow me to be cognitively cognizant and where to go and how to proceed and how to do so. It was instinct. And this is why Indestructible, the Hidden Gifts Trauma was created, was to allow even the adults to understand that instinctively these gifts are yours. They might just be buried and hidden from turmoils and challenges and life experiences, but they're there. The gifts of resilience, the gifts of courage, the gifts of faith, the gifts of forgiveness and love and healing. They're there. They're underneath all that other crap that we put above it. Yeah.
But you also have medium. Were you seeing deceased loved ones around you? Deceased
No, I wish.
Well, because didn't you have the supernatural experience you had when you were 8 years old? Was that was with the coals? That was with something else?
No, that was something else. That was a spirit. That was a spirit communication with a past person. So the interesting part is that my experiences with the spirit world has been with strangers. It wasn't with family. I wish I had those moments where it's like, oh, uncle visited me or grandma visited me. No. It was like, and it was interesting because at 8 years old, everybody around me was still alive. So my experiences with spirit were with strangers, were with people that I didn't know who they were. So it left me scared. It left me questioning. But it was also interesting because though I was scared, I knew that it wasn't also, that it was something to be explored. And so even at a young age, I asked the adults around me, like, what's happening, what's going on, this is what happened. And I was open about it. But my adults, we were Philippines is very Catholic, and so even though we understand the world of energy and spirit as far as nature and being really in touch with nature, the main religion and faith was Catholicism, and that was frowned upon. And so their answer was, go pray it away, go to church and pray it away. And I did, because I was just a child. I thought that was the case, but it wouldn't go away. It didn't go away. Even as an adult, it didn't go away.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you made a decision. Your story is so amazing. You made a decision to take on the role of mother to your younger brothers at 21 years old. And then you opened your own business. And I think you even called yourself the hairdresser medium. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So I started to merge the two businesses. my high school, we had the ability to gain an elective, which is a trade. And I chose cosmetology, not because I thought it was hair, but because I thought it was the cosmos, learning about the planets and the stars. Right? I was such a nerd. I thought I'm going to be in a planetarium for 3 hours, right? And it's going to be like, it's going to be 25 credits. Oh my God, the college people will fight for me, right? And then I come in the first day of class, and it was a bunch of mannequins and blow dryers that greeted me, and I freaked the hell out. This is how spirit works, right? Because my mom had passed. My mom passed when I was 15, and I had, she made me promise on her deathbed that I had to be a mother now. And so even at 14, 15 years old, I knew I had to somehow be financially stable enough to take care of my siblings.
That's amazing. And how many of you were there? How many siblings?
I'm one of five. I'm second. So
your mother at 15 years old gives you the responsibility to take care of your other 4 siblings.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I took it seriously because I'm that kind of person. Even as a child, even how I cope, I'm very much, okay, this is what's happening. And so I accept it. Now what? Right. So that's the same thing that I did with my mom when she was passing. Is we could not fight her death. I had to accept it, no matter how much it hurt. And I had to then process, okay, this is now my job. Right. And it helped me heal the emotional aspect of it. The 14-year-old that was crying. But then there's this other part of me that came forward and allowed me to go, okay, with grace, how do we rise above it? Because we have to. So anyhow, it was just, I walk into my first day of cosmetology, and I realized, oh my God, it's not the cosmos, it's about doing hair. And, but it was funny because my counselor was like, well, everything else is full. You're going to have to stay here for the semester at least, and then we could move you. The first semester, I got a job. I got referred. I was number 1 in class, and I ended up making so much money. And then I realized, oh, this is how God put this in front of me, because I knew this was I asked to have the financial stability to take care of my brothers. And so I graduated. I worked in the industry for 8 years, and then opened my own salon and took custody of my brothers at 21.
Did they accept you without a problem as their mother?
Yeah, because we're all very, very close. We're all very close. Obviously, I said this in my post before. Trauma may have bonded us, but healing connected us. Yeah,
Why did you call yourself the hairdresser medium? Were you trying to get messages?
Yeah. So when I came out of the spiritual closet, I still had my salon. I had my salon for 15 years, and I started to merge my industry together, coming out of the spiritual closet. And actually it was one of my clients that dubbed me that. My client, one of my clients just looked at me and said, "You're the hairdresser medium. That's who you are. You're the hairdresser medium." So I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, you know what they say, right? With hairdressers, is like, we're the therapist without the certification or the paperwork. Right. And I was like, yeah.
You're a therapist who's done a lot of your own healing, which contributed to your personal transformation, and now you help other people to heal. So talk to us about that. What kinds of healing, including therapy, contributed to your personal transformation, and how were you able to hold this optimistic perspective despite the tremendous trauma you had experienced? Other people are very pessimistic, whatever. That wasn't Krista.
No, that wasn't me. That was me. It was like up to, like, I just knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, that was me from all I could remember. Again, this idea of accepting my reality, but also recognizing, okay, how do I move forward with it, with mind, body, and spirit intact? That was always just in my mantra, So that was instilled in me, and I don't know who instilled it, but maybe it's spirit that was instilled in me. I'm just a very optimistic person. My healing came forward when I started taking on clients. And when I started taking on clients, this question always came into my head, whether I'm in the midst of the session or after the session, where the question was, how can you help others if you haven't yet healed? And that was just such a big epiphany for me, as a quote unquote healer, as a quote unquote, a coach, right? Like, how can I spill this and not be fully healed? Because if I was being triggered by their stories, or if I was being affected and just not being able to hold space without bias, then obviously I need to work on me. And so I actually took a year and a half off to do a lot of healing on my own. And this is when the book came about and I discovered all this work.
What kind of healing did you do, Krista? Did you do therapy?
I did therapy. I did spiritual, intuitive energy work, Reiki therapy, lots of yoga, lots of journaling, lots of writing, and lots of being honest with myself and being truthful with myself. Yeah. So there's a lot of resources. There's a lot. And I will always say, it's you have to resonate with it. You have to resonate with the healing, right? So even though this is how I went through it, even with my book, I say this book is not a prescriptive book. I share with you how I healed and the techniques, but it is up to you to decide. Hey, if you try it, great. If you don't, it's okay. But know that there are resources for you everywhere, and there's so many.
Well, that's the whole point of that's how your book is in sync with this podcast, because there are so many healing modalities, ways. Find the one that works for you.
Yeah.
So, I know you do work as a neuro-linguistic life coach and a hypnotist, and you specialize in the Satir method of transformational systemic therapy. Well, would you define all of those for us? And why would someone want to see a neuro-linguistic life coach?
Right. So interestingly enough, when I created Selfish Lifestyle as a spiritual haven, right, to work on the spiritual body, you do have 4 bodies: your mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual body. I recognize that though my clients are coming in for spiritual work, whether it's spiritual mediumship or tarot or just energetic alignment and such, they kept coming back for the coaching, which is the practical techniques that came with it. I'm a big proponent and advocate of practitioners to let their clients go. I tell my clients all the time, I don't want to see you like forever. I want to be able to aid you and work with you so that you can sustain on your own. And then maybe we can connect 6 months, once a year, but really it's about allowing you to be embodied in your own power, in your own truth, in your governance. So when I discovered that my clients needed more than spiritual work, they needed the practical tools and ability, the cognitive ability to do the practical steps to move forward beyond my door, I decided to go ahead and be certified in neuro-linguistic coaching. Neuro-linguistic is a way for me to navigate the mental body, which is a lot of us are cerebral. Us humans work a lot in our cerebral realm.
Does neuro-linguistic coaching help them to reframe the situation? Where they mentally process it to change that so that it changes the way they address issues in their lives?
Yes, the mindset.
Did I get that?
The perspective. The 3 pillars of Selfish is you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You're equipped with everything you need to overcome and survive. And the 3rd is your perspective becomes your reality. So neuro-linguistic allows me to really aid others to gain a certain perspective. No matter how challenging things can be, what's our perspective like? What is our energy as we are going through this chaos?
So it's a choice.
It's a choice. Yes. So so neuro-linguistic and Satir method of therapy is very much linked and hand in hand with that.
How are they linked? Yeah. So what is this?
So Satir method of therapy is a systemic, it's a step-by-step way of allowing the mental body to correlate and blend with the spiritual essence of you, right? You're a spiritual being having a human experience. The human experience is with Irene, with the book, with the glasses, with the red hair, right? With the home in West Orange, the labels that we love to identify ourselves with because we're humans. We love labels for some reason. But the spiritual body, right? The soul body knows that we are boundless, that we are eternal, that we are limitless, that we are beyond this time and space and this physical body. And so when we combine this understanding of the two, so the soul understands and knows that we're whole, we're healed, that we are beautifully worked and and one, right? If we combine that and blend that with the human experience, it's experiencing the experience that we are currently in this earth life. If we combine them and understand the ego can't take over, because spirit will then share the other aspect. Okay, we're going through this, but how can we then work with that in an unlimited way, in a positive way, in a light way, in a healed way, in a deserving, worthy way? Yeah.
It sounds to me like you give people a lot of hope and constructive help about
Yes.
challenges. Right?
Yeah, we don't deny the experience. We don't pretend it didn't happen. We're not sugarcoating anything. What we and this is very prominent in my book. I'm very raw with my book and my experience. And it's
your book's wonderful. I'm going to encourage everyone to get it.
Oh,
well, let's talk about your book. It's called Indestructible: The Hidden Gifts of Trauma. It's great, everyone. And it describes your hard-won understanding of how it is impossible to extract life-healing lessons while overcoming a violent past. What would you like to tell us about that?
Oh, you just said it. Oh my God.
I know you. I'm going to ask you about some of those life-healing gifts of trauma.
Yeah.
And just hearing about your story and how you survived it and the choices. So let's go to one of those life-healing gifts of trauma. You talk about the gift of boundaries. And people talk about the gift. People talk about boundaries all the time. People are busy stepping over each other's boundaries, abusing people's boundaries. They don't know what a boundary is. And you had experiences with your father that taught you about the gift of boundaries. You want to share that with us?
Well, boundaries, I recognize was the main tool that I issued, that I work for myself, and I am very aware and recognize that boundaries can be reestablished and established continually. Just because you establish boundaries on a certain day or a certain moment doesn't mean you forget about it. You reestablish it again and again and again, and be aware and conscious of it. With my father, I mean, immediately, even it's both my parents, actually, my mother and my father. I realized boundaries had to be set so I don't take on their stuff. I don't take on their stuff. Their experiences, their toxicity was theirs and not mine. And even at a young age, I recognized that. And in a way, I built a wall. And don't get it wrong, I beat myself up. And that was the journey that got me here. Was my physical body. I had 3 ectopic pregnancies. I couldn't have a baby naturally. I had no, at 22 years old, I had to get rid of my tubes, right? Like, this is how important, your emotional well-being is connected to your physical being. And this is also why it's so important for you to understand that you have 4 bodies, right? And my mental body was so high strung. I was so cerebral because all I knew was to survive. So I bulldozed through life. I knew I had to survive. I knew I had to be financially independent. I knew I had to keep going. And I left behind my emotional body, and I left behind my physical body along the way.
And you left those behind, and later you got sick.
Yes. And then, but it was also, again, here's the gift, right? Because it made me realize, okay, I got to take control, right? I got to take control of this. And so that's when I discovered yoga. I discovered boundaries. Boundaries, is continual. It's continual work. Just like healing will be continual. Once the moment you open that door of healing, I want everybody to know it never ends. I'm sorry. I gotta let you know it never ends. It continues to evolve because you are that worth of that. You are worth of that gift of healing.
Well, sometimes I think that when it comes to boundaries, a lot of lessons keep reappearing to make sure, did you get it yet?
Did you establish it? Yeah.
Right. They seem to come back a lot of times. But is there anything specific you want to share before we go to the healing gift of choice? Anything you want to share about what your father taught you about that gift of boundaries? He was a tough guy.
He was, again, my sharing would be to display and implement and exercise non-attachment. Non-attachment is the ultimate gift, quite honestly. In my work as a healer, as a spiritualist, as a yogi, as a coach, all this work that I do, it comes down to non-attachment. And to be able to coexist, to be able to understand that we all don't have to get along. We all don't have to like each other. but we have to honor each other's existence, because they have, their journey is theirs, yours is yours. And this is why boundaries are so important, no matter what dynamic it is, whether it's a marriage, whether it's siblings, whether it's friends, coworkers. Boundaries. Once you're interacting with a being, once you're interacting, it doesn't have to be in physical. Okay, it could be energetic. Boundaries have to be established, understanding, so you would know who you are, what your needs are, okay, what your required are, and also theirs. And once it starts tapping and melding into yours, you would know your own gut to know, okay, that's not cool. I won't tolerate that. If you're
That
not
was my
conscious of
question,
that,
because if you're honoring their boundaries, but they don't honor yours, and that
if you're
it's so
honoring,
toxic, how does that work?
well, you have to make that decision to hold yourself accountable. Yeah. And that's where it is. That's where it comes from. My three deals is accountability, responsibility, and awareness. That's all I ask for anyone who works with me, who is in my family. The understanding that when I created these boundaries and came out of spiritual closet and really worked on me and healed, everyone shifted around me too, right? And an understanding that we're honoring. I'm not trying to change you. I changed myself, but because I did change myself, then that allows you to also shift and kind of go, oh, how does this work now? Leave room for magic, right? And because you have set yourself, this is why I'm so big on self-care. Then my company is called Self-ish, right? Know you. No one's going to know you more than you. Not your therapist, not your sister, not your best friend, not your spiritual healer. I don't care if they could tap into your soul. I tap into souls all the time. But no one will ever know you more than you. Yeah. And find power in that. So in your boundaries is being tested and not and disrespected. It is up to you to decide, okay, no.
Well, that comes to, if your boundaries are being disrespected, then that comes to the gift of choice, right? Because you have a choice about what you're going to do. Do you stay in this toxic situation or do you leave it?
Yes, exactly. It's so important. It's so important that there may be times where you feel like you have no choice. I have no choice. I hear all the time, I have no choice. Okay. Let's take a breath. Let's take a moment. But you do have a choice and to decide how you want to respond to this current state. All right. How do you want to respond to this current state? With grief, with anger, with rage? Or do we want to honor that this is a challenging moment, this is chaos, and we are a little stuck, but how do we want to perceive and where do we want to move forward with this? How do we want this energy to be?
Do you want
there's a choice.
Detach and look at it in a different way or
yes.
whatever? Okay, so there's another gift that you call the gift of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
That's why it's the last one, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How were you able to forgive your father? And you also had to forgive yourself in certain ways. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because for you to even decide to want to start forgiving others is for you to decide that you have to forgive yourself first, also for allowing such attachments of cords to be on you. Yeah. And it can easily go to narcissism. Yeah. It can easily, if you're not aware, it can easily go into blaming mode. I blame my dad for this. I blame my dad for this. And, and accountability kind of gets swayed. So when through my healing journey, through the process, as you know, I didn't jump to forgiveness. It took me a long time to get to forgiveness, but because it took a lot of unfolding and upheavals and unpacking to get to that ultimate point of life. How long did it take
you, considering all the abuse that you suffered as a child? Then you raising your brothers. Now you're going on into your life. How long did it take you to finally get to that place of looking at forgiveness and be able? And was your father still alive when you forgave him, or did you forgive him energetically?
He was still alive, but he wasn't with me. He was in the Philippines, so I haven't seen him.
You were in the States. Did it happen in New Jersey, or did it happen in Texas? Where were you?
No, actually, it happened at my Satir when I was getting my certification in Satir method of therapy.
Oh,
in Vancouver. Yeah. It happened then, because all these. So my work, so the healing process was like 16 months for me, and I'm a I'm a crazy person. I'm a Sag, so I'm like, I go in, or I'm extreme. When I'm in, I'm in, and I like to go in. So when I decided that I had to answer this call of how can you help others if you have not yet healed, I literally did take off a year and a half from my selfish company to step back and heal. Right.
I want everybody to understand it's self, SELF dash ISH. Not about talking about being selfish. It's right. Okay.
No, it's not about being selfish. It's about being selfish. Right. Because and because we have to understand there's three parts of us: the self, the integrated self, and then the big self. Yeah. So, but it all comes with self. It all starts with that big S. Yeah. And you always want to incorporate that wherever we are, whether we're at work, whether we're at our family, whatever it is, you want to have the higher self come forward. It doesn't have to be woo. Higher self is the part of you that's alive mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Right. But my healing journey was 16 months. Yeah, 16 months. It took 16 months. I did a lot of work, and I just focused on healing all my bodies, and it led me to forgiveness. It led me there because I started exploring anger, and I realized, oh my God, I have a lot of anger, and I misconstrued anger. I misconstrued it. It wasn't even anger. It was rage. I had a lot of rage in me, and I wasn't even aware of it until my mentor was like, you're misconstruing anger with rage. Rage doesn't lead anywhere. Anger can be motivational. Anger, right, can lead you to stoke that fire, to defend and to move forward. Rage, you see black. There's nothing. And I realized that was my dad. My dad brought that out of me. Whether he was no longer there physically, he was still in my mind. He was still in my emotions.
Your inner child. What he did to you as your little inner child.
Yes.
You had to help heal her, right?
Yes, and I did a lot of that. And so here I was as an adult, as a full prefrontal cortex, fully grown adult. Control of all her functions. And I realized, oh my gosh, he still has a hold on me. And I had to then step forward because now I'm aware. And I realized it's no longer on him. It's now on me. And so I did, they had a labyrinth in that space. And I decided to do the labyrinth. That was my first time experiencing a labyrinth. And it just was so eye-opening, transformative, as you have said. You experience any type of transformative experience is this aha moment. And I proceeded to forgive myself for having him have such control over my mental and physical, emotional, spiritual body. And then because I did that, I released that and let that go. It opened my energy to forgive him. And without anger, without any judgment, it was just like, I let you go. I wrote a letter, right? I wrote a letter and I said, I let you go. I no longer hold you anywhere in my mind, body, and spirit. I send you love, but I love me more. Right. I love me more.
So what you're saying to him is, I don't let go of your actions. They just don't rule me. They don't control me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people will misconstrue forgiveness with that, right? Even with the boundaries, like, there's healthy boundaries and there's not healthy boundaries, right? We talk about this all the time. And you have a freaking boundary that is out of defense and that's unhealthy because you're not allowing people in. That's not healthy either, right?
Wait, talk a little bit about that. Like a boundary where people are so defended that they don't let people in to help them. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and they're always there's this sense of and again, I'm always going to come back to my spiritual sense in regards to like, well, if that's how you feel at that moment, that where is that coming from? Is that which part of you is speaking? Which part of you erected this wall? Because that's who we need to talk to, right? So it's so much more into it. However, there are healthy coping mechanisms and there's unhealthy coping mechanisms, right? There's so many in the spectrum. You have to recognize what's working for you and what's no longer working for you. What used to work for you may not work for you now. Okay. Okay. And it's very important. This is why therapy is so important. This is why talking and working with others is so important, because it gives you a different perspective. But yeah, I mean, I remember with my mom when I discovered how angry I was with her as a young woman. And I, even at 7 years old, I made a decision. I will never become my mother. I will never marry somebody like my father. I will never do. And, you know, I created a boundary that was so defensive, that was so angry. And I realized that I was projecting this to others out of that. And that wasn't healthy. That wasn't healthy for me. That wasn't healthy for the relationships I was in. So I decided to break that boundary down.
Probably
That cement wall.
relationships because of your anger being projected onto people. Would you say you lost some relationships because of that projection?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yes, of course, yeah. But again, you know, I'm a big proponent and advocate of, like, there's no regrets. You know what? You know, whether good or bad or whatever. Again, the understanding of non-attachment. What transpired has transpired. You can't change the past. What you can do, however, is proceed to the future with how you want to proceed. Yeah. So yes, I did definitely lose some relationships and all of that. And did I apologize? Have I apologized? Honestly, I did like a forgiveness for myself. And then when I started doing a lot of forgiveness for everybody, you know, I started asking for forgiveness for everyone. Quite honestly, I just said, forgive me for the person who I was. It is not who I am now. Right.
You were conscious then. You really weren't aware. Now you were aware.
Yes. Right? Yes. And right? I can't. Yes, exactly. And I wasn't aware of it then, you know, but I am aware of now. And so I will have to do what I need to do in this moment to move forward without attaching and being responsible for everybody's reaction. I can't be responsible for their reaction. They can take my forgiveness or they can take my apology or not. And that's okay, because I know I did. You know, I did that, you know, so.
That's, you know, your book is really constructive because, like, as you go through all those gifts that came out of your trauma and how you turn them around, it's really inspiring. It's wonderful role modeling for people. So on that note, what is the Krista message about the importance of healing? Why should people heal their stuff? You see people all the time. You yourself were filled with rage, struggling to forgive and all that. Why should people do that instead of walking around carrying their grievances with them everywhere they go?
Oh man, healing. I'm a proponent for healing. It's because you deserve it and you're worth it. Right? You know, you are worth of that light. You're worth of that spirit that came prior to your limbs, prior to your organs, prior to the human experiences. You were light first. You were love first. You were joy first. You know, and you deserve that. You're worthy of that light. This is the earth life. We are meant to experience this life in full capacity. As much as there is grief and sorrow, there is joy and there's happiness. As much as there is dark, there is light. As much as there is soft, there's hard, right? The many colors and spectrums of every color there is. They're meant to be experienced. They're meant to be lived in. And when we're stuck, when we're not healing, we're not able to experience in a full spectrum, and you're missing out. You are living only at 40% capacity.
So you're like living a muted life, right? You're like not living.
Yeah, you're living in a dull. Yeah, you're living in a dull state of being. Whereas healing, though we're pulling all this, you know, challenges, and you may be going through an emotional ebb and flow, it reminds you you're alive. It reminds you, shit, I do have a choice. It reminds me, oh my gosh, I am powerful. Oh my gosh, I can do this. Oh my gosh, there's another way of being. It's something that you have to experience on your own. And it's amazing.
So people are listening to this. You're inspiring them. They're buying your book. They're fascinated. And they're thinking, geez, maybe Krista can help me. Maybe she's someone I need to work with, because I've got some stuff. I don't know how to get rid of it, and it's muting my life. So tell us about your technique workshops, your private sessions, the best ways to connect with you. And you will do all this online because you're in Texas.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I do it all on Zoom. It is recorded. It takes about 60 to 75 minutes. It's transformational in all your four bodies, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual body. That is the soul level of being. It is through Zoom. You can find me at self-ishlifestyle.com.
Let's
I'm
say
very
that again.
loud.
self-ish lifestyle.com, right?
Yes. And I'm very loud on Instagram, on my social media platforms. Always encouraging, always motivational. I do have my workshops called Face the Focus, Align, Commit, Execute Technique, which is amazing. It allows you to really be aware of your goal and how to align with it and how to commit and execute.
Now, are the workshops in online or are the workshops in person?
They're both. So my last workshop was both. I had in person and I also had people on Zoom. So that was a really cool experience. But I love it all. I love working with people, and my one-on-one is really great because it really is all about you. And it really is about, discovering you. It's the journey of self-discovery and self-mastery. And it's so much fun. It's so, it's amazing, but it's heavy. I got to say, a lot of people come in to me thinking it's going to be fun and we're going to find something good. It's like, get ready for the box of tissues because it's going to happen.
You're going to unearth a lot of pain.
We're going to unearth a lot of stuff.
Get rid of it.
That's the point. Exactly. Right. We're not trying to get rid of the pain. We're trying to transform the pain. We're going to shift that feeling into something that it's meant to. Yeah. Sometimes we get stuck in that moment, but we're supposed to continue to move forward with it. Yeah.
Right. Keep going forward and understand what that looks like. So your tip for finding joy in life is to never settle for someone else's perception of perfection. I love that. Would you please explain that to us?
Yeah, because it was so trendy, right? The trend of like, nobody's perfect and embrace your imperfections and stuff like that. And I'm going, no, you're perfect in your own right. Their perception is theirs. They're perfect in their own right too. Everybody's perfect in their own right. So what we need to do is stop comparing, stop comparing and stop trying to embody somebody else's way of being, right? Your perception of perfection is yours and no one else's as much as theirs. So don't ever settle for anything less than that. Yeah. So that's where that came from.
People admire someone and they want to be like that person. They're missing something because they really need to be who they are.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being inspired. I'm inspired all the time. I'm inspired by you, Irene. I'm inspired by the people, the people I meet, the clients I meet, the birds. I'm inspired by everything, right? I'm inspired by it all, but I blend it with who I am. I don't change who I am. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
I instead. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Krista, I have to say your book, Indestructible, The Hidden Gifts of Trauma, is such an impressive and inspirational memoir of your life journey has been absolutely heroic. And it's just amazing and wonderful and inspiring how you turned your challenges and struggles into these powerful life lessons that everyone could learn from. You're so welcome. From my heart, thank you for sharing your remarkable healing story with all of us. And I thank you for this incredibly wise and very fascinating interview today. And here's a reminder, everyone, that you can see the show notes and all Grief and Rebirth podcast episodes on ireneweinberg.com. And make sure to follow us and like us on social at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to click subscribe so you'll never miss an episode like this one with Krista. As I like to say, to be continued. Many blessings. Thank you so much, Krista, and bye for now.